media. So, and other social media. So you know. Okay, next. Yeah. So DeFi Toronto Meetup was formed in the fall of 2019, which was 1 year before so-called the DeFi summer happened in 2020. And since then, we have been running this almost every month. We have one meetup. We invite guest speaker from local community, but also from other countries. We have speakers as far as from Japan, Australia, Europe, and so on. But our in-person meetup, we happen to do it once a quarter. We try to get more local startup to speak because it just there's more convenience. And as for myself, and I used to work in the traditional finance industry, namely in pension fund investment. Currently, I work for a crypto hedge fund, do fundamental research on the digital asset. So that's a little bit about me, and I will pass on to Alim to introduce himself.
Thanks, Victor. My name is Alim, one of the original co-founders of DeFi Toronto. I work for a company called Delve, which is building an AMM for fixed and variable rates. We're currently live on testnet on Sepolia, and we'll be going live to mainnet in about 3 or 4 weeks. And we're also building other kind of decentralized infrastructure and governance systems. So with that, I will pass it off to Johnson.
Johnson, would you like to tell a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yeah, it's me. Johnson, sorry.
Johnson?
Yeah, Johnson.
Yeah, sorry, I was just fixing my mic. But yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Johnson. I am the marketing manager at Virgo CX. We're a regulated crypto trading platform here in Canada. I joined DeFi Toronto March of 2023, so it has been just a little over a year, and it has been a really good ride, and I'm very excited for today's meetup. Thank you all for attending.
Is Sophia here?
Yeah, hey guys. I'm Sophia. I work at ETH Global. I'm the events manager there. For those of you who don't know, ETH Global is an organization where we're dedicated to fostering the Ethereum ecosystem. And that's through hosting large-scale hackathons and educational events, and try to bring together developers, designers, and entrepreneurs to collaborate on ETH-related projects. So if you're in Brussels, we just talked about this earlier today, please apply to hack at the ETH Global Hackathon if you're interested. And if not, we have a lot of cool other things happening in Brussels. So hit me up if you want more information. I'll pass it back to you, Liam.
And back to Victor.
Okay, we have 2 other team member, Mark and Imran. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us tonight. So, but they also been with our team for a long time. If you have any, connection, entrepreneur speakers that you think we should have them, please let us know. And we're also looking for sponsor for our in-person event. And so we appreciate it if you make introduction, or the company you work for are willing to sponsor our in-person event. And our cost to run an in-person event roughly $2,500. So if your company willing to sponsor this amount, we'll love to have you. Okay, so here's our agenda. So we start with Johnson and I will do as usual, do a 10-15 minutes news recap to talk about the major news in the last 30 days or so. And then we pass on to our first guest speaker, Jason from Jasper Vault. And then we have a quick break. where anyone who have any community announcement like hiring, like you have new project you want to announce, you then you have a chance to share with the rest of the attendee here. Then after that, we have our second speaker, James Morris from Across Protocol, to speak about the cross-chain intent. And finally, we are going to have 10 minutes time for a roundtable. So this is a relatively new feature for us, and we just want to give the audience attendee have chance to voice their opinion on some of the hot topic in the crypto space, so that you can share your idea. So you'll also get a chance to hear different opinions. So I think will be productive for our own thinking, how we view this space. It's good to hear different opinion so that we don't become an echo chamber, only hear one side of story. So that's the roundtable. So please stay with us. Love to hear your opinions on some major hot topic we have prepared for you. Okay, next. So we're going to start the DeFi news recap. I'm going to pass to Jay Johnson to start the first part of the DeFi news recap.
Thank you, Victor. It has been a crazy ride over the past month. Just looking at it from volatility wise, people are like, oh, we're back in crypto, it's a bull market. And then a few days later, they're like, oh, we're not back in crypto, prices are going down. Then again, they're like, oh, prices are going up again and it's going down. So what is going on over here? Like, if we look at the last kind of week, like what's pretty significant is like many longs got liquidated. And then right after, there were like ETF outflows. And then even though inflation seems to be cooling, Bank of Canada had their rates cut, European Central Bank had their rates cut. And these are like the first kind of rate cuts in like almost 5 years, since 2019. And the Fed, they left their rates unchanged, and the prices still went down, like despite all of this macro activity. So what is really going on here? Now, when we look at the next slide, next slide, please. Oh, I think that's getting clicked. Yeah. So why are the prices not going up? Like when we're looking at ETF inflows, last week there was about close to $1 billion in inflows, but prices have still remained pretty same where they are. Now, this is like an overlay of both like the Bitcoin price chart and the ETF inflows. We see that right after, somewhere in the middle is where the ETFs got approved, and then the inflows started pouring in. Along with it, prices went up all the way from 40K to something like 69K, all-time highs. And then there was kind of like no inflows, maybe even a reduction of inflows and some outflows in the middle. And then again, like there was a huge influx of inflow, but then the price barely changed. So what happened here? Next slide, please. So another data point that came to light is that hedge funds have been actually shorting on the CME futures exchange. And this has resulted in what is known as kind of the basis trade. Now, what is the basis trade? When in a market, when a lot of long traders are taking up leverage and there are a few short traders, they pretty much pay the shorts to take the other side of the trade. And when there are more long traders than the short traders, the longs pay a premium to get their trades in to the shorts. And right now, that's what the market is looking like. So they pay us something called as a funding rate. So every time you take a leveraged position along buy, then you would pay like 0.01% every 8 hours on your position's value. This works out to about a 10% in yearly return. So a lot of hedge funds, what they're doing is they are buying BTC ETF, and then they're shorting the futures so that they get to make that difference in price and like funding rate, which works out to about 10% per year, assuming that funding rate stays constant. And this has been the explanation, like predominant explanation of what's happening in the market currently, why prices are not going up despite like really high ETF inflows. Next slide, please, Arun. So the ETH ETFs got approved, but when will it start trading? Today's actually Chair Gensler, he talked to the congressional committee and he said that over the course of the summer, could be July, August, September at least by latest is what he said. So we'll keep tabs on that with regards to the ETF. And next slide, please. Curve, one of the OG DeFi protocols. Curve positions of the founder, Michael Igorov, got liquidated, almost about 140 million. And that led to Curve's price actually going down by about more than 25%. And this happened last night, leading up to like today morning. Next slide, please, Ali. And this is like a statement from like the founder saying that, yeah, it's been liquidated. But then market participants, like observers, what they're seeing is that, yes, this guy had 140 million worth of Curve positions, but then he actually took almost 100 million in the loan, the borrows, and then he kind of let his loan liquidate. Because if he had tried to sell his Curve position instead of liquidations, then the Curve price would have tanked. He might not even have gotten the 100 million that he borrowed. So, and not to mention all the, the loss of goodwill that happens with the Curve founder selling his Curve positions, things like that. But one good thing what we see is that some people thought that, Curve positions getting liquidated is going to be like a big kind of bad scenario for DeFi, but it turned out not to be the case. The things got liquidated pretty smoothly. There was about, I think, 9 million worth of bad debt in one of the protocols. That was pretty new, but then apart from the founder actually repaid some of that bad debt. So things were not too bad as people thought. So I would like to take like a quick pause, a quick poll here and just ask like everyone, like, is this the bottom or do we go down even further from here? So everybody who thinks like, if this is the bottom, like, could you like raise your hand or something? Like there's I think under reactions, there's like a raise hand feature.
Johnson, when you say bottom, do you mean the price of the Curve token?
The price of the market in general.
A market in general. So
yeah, like ETH, because like all of these are pretty like correlated. Bitcoin, ETH, DeFi positions. All right, we got one saying, okay, so no hands. I think one hand for this is the bottom. How many hands for this is not the bottom? We go down further from here for the crypto market in general. Interesting.
Are you saying that this instance, Curve Finance is the cost of the risk of a further decline?
No. Curve Finance is functioning smoothly. The DEX is functioning smoothly. There's no problem. It's just their governance token, CRV. Their governance token was accepted as collateral in some lending platforms. And during this bear market, like due to especially the loss of liquidity and volatility, some of the positions like were at a risk of bad debt, which got cleared out yesterday. So I think like some of the kind of sentiment we're getting at, yeah, it may still go bottom. This is still cheap. So I think like there's still a sentiment that it may still go kind of lower, although it seems kind of mixed. So where we are, but that's about it from my end. I'll pass on for the rest of the DeFi news recap to you, Victor.
Thank you, Johnson. So let's move on. So recently Coinbase introduced a new matrix to measure the network health. So what is unique about this measurement is that it takes into account not only the number of active address has been involved, but also the diversity of the sender's address. So you can imagine that if a platform, if a network that they can cheat by maybe just one or few founder keeping sending different transaction and so on and so forth, you get impression, oh wow, there's a lot of activity, but it all concentrate by a few address, few sender, where this coin matrix, this new H index is trying to capture not only number of active address, but also the activity, the transaction diversity is come from a broad address. So based on this index, and we can see that Ethereum and Base are ranked very, very high, and at the bottom, the Phantom is a little bit lower compared to others. So as we move into more mature space, how we measure network health is an important topic for whether it's the investor or a researcher or academic research. This is an interesting new matrix that we can watch to see which network are truly have a broader user adoption. Okay, next slide. Here, so just last week, the largest Chinese bank, which happened to be also the largest bank in the world, called ICBC. So this bank, they published their internal research, and they actually say a lot of good things about Bitcoin and Ethereum. They like Bitcoin to digital gold, and they like Ethereum to digital oil. For Bitcoin, they particularly highlight that what Bitcoin advantage over gold is that is more divisible, easy to transport, and also much easier to authenticate whether it is a true real Bitcoin or not. Where in gold you can fake gold, it's hard to detect a fake gold. And for Ethereum, they particularly highlight the innovation. They feel that there's a lot of innovation going on in the Ethereum space. So they are very bullish on the popularity of the Ethereum virtual machine, DeFi application, and NFT, and so on and so forth. So it's quite interesting to read this kind of research report from the largest bank in China and in the world. And for those who don't know, that all the bank in China are owned by the state. So particularly this bank is the largest bank owned by the government. So this might show the change of attitude of Chinese government towards Bitcoin. As you probably know, China banned Bitcoin mining a few years ago, and also they banned Bitcoin trading. Even though they didn't ban the possession, if you own Bitcoin, own crypto, it's okay. It just they just somehow they don't like exchange. They don't allow exchange operate inside China. So it's an interesting time to watch out what's the policy change in China going forward. Next slide. Here, this slide show that Uniswap, the liquidity pool on L2, has surpassed the number of liquidity pool on Ethereum. It shows the popularity of the L2. So the L2 has attracted a lot of adoption. So you can say that Ethereum developer are really working, deliver what they have promised, that they scale up the Ethereum transaction network through the L2. Next slide. And this one is similar to the last slide. This one just look at all the active address on L2, and now is 3.5 times more than the active address on Ethereum. It shows that, again, it shows that a great adoption on the Ethereum L2 network. Next slide. Johnson talked a little about that. Gary Gensler mentioned that Ether ETF probably going to approved by end of this summer. And here is one to show you that, as you know, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager. The world's largest asset manager. They were the front runner when they launched, when US launched the Bitcoin ETF, and now they also the sponsor for the Ether ETF. Interesting here to show you is that one BlackRock seed money that they need some fund in the ETF when they launch. For Bitcoin ETF, they only put $100K, $100,000. That's it. That's the seed funding for the Bitcoin ETF. But now they seed the Ether ETF about 10 million. That's 100 times more bigger than the Bitcoin's one. So it shows that they are very confident on the success of the Ether ETF launch. So that's a good sign. But of course, we will see soon enough, perhaps by end of this summer, we'll see the launch of Ether ETF. Next slide. This one is what happened, as you know, last month, just before the approval deadline, Ether approval deadline. There's rumors saying that SEC was asking the centralized exchange to update their application so that they can list Ether ETF. Since then, people know that, realize, oh, well, the likelihood of Ether ETF approval is going to happen. So what we see is that there's more accumulation. People are buying more Ether. Here in this chart, it track those address holding a large amount from 10 to 10,000 ETH, from 10,000 to 100,000 ETH address has grown tremendously, and there's more accumulation by this new address. So look like the investor try to fund run the Ether launch. So they probably see what happened to Bitcoin, the impact of a Bitcoin ETF launch, drive up the price, drive up the demand. So this is chart is quite telling, prepared by Crypto Quant. Another news related to wallet. So Coinbase launched a smart wallet, and the unique thing about this wallet is that number one is a self-custody wallet. So you control your asset, you control your key. So it is similar to other non-custodial wallet. But one unique thing is that it doesn't require the typical seed phrase for recovery. It use password, it use biometrics for login. And most important is if you trade using this wallet, you do not have to pay any gas fee. So that is going to attract a lot of user because you save them the gas fee. And on the right-hand side, you can see the growth of the active account on the smart wallet. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's pretty much all the DeFi news recap, and we're going to stop here, and we're going to invite our guest speaker. Alim is going to introduce our guest speaker.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Victor and Johnson, for the awesome DeFi news recap. We can get started with our first speaker. So this is Jason Qiao. He is the founder and CEO of Jasper Vault, which is a peer-to-peer interoperable options protocol with the mission to bring options to the 99% of DeFi users by building intuitive and simple products that meet institutional level safety requirements. Jason started this entrepreneurial journey, his entrepreneurial journey by founding one of the first institutionalized digital funds back in 2018. The hedge fund has more than 6 years of audit records to date. Jason spent 12 years on Wall Street at JP Morgan Asset Management as an executive director, a member of the investment committee, and head of the portfolio construction and quantitative research team. Jason holds a master's degree in financial mathematics from the University of Chicago. So with that, I'd like to invite Jason to take over. And Jason, I will pass over host privileges to you.
Thank you, Alim. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, it's very honored to be here to talk with the DeFi, the community in Toronto. So it's so nice to be here. And actually, when I look like you guys' logo, it's like DeFi for everyone. Like seems like actually we have the same vision. We also built an options protocol. Why we call 99 is because we want emphasize sometimes the DeFi and especially options or it's very difficult. It's only for like 1%. So we really want to focus on actually there are a lot of people which is 99. Actually they deserve they should understand and allowed to use this DeFi. Actually that's pretty much we saw that we were excited. We say share the same vision. Before actually one lesson today's talk actually. I will spend some time to icon what I heard today from from Johnson and from the speaker earlier. There's a lot of things actually we do pretty much similar, and I'll explain how this will be exactly linked to what we do from this the Jasper Vault. Before that, awesome. I do not want to go to very long PPT. It's only 1 2 slides. I may be easy facilitate the talk. In that possible, I can share my PPT.
Yep, I just made you host, Jason, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, it's very quick. So the Jasper Vault is what we do is a peer-to-peer interoperable options protocol. So like here exactly what we do is options for the 99. So you see here the next one is more like maybe I show this one like the vision. Should I do the okay?
Yeah, if you want to go into presentation mode, that might be a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, where that to put presentation mode? Okay. Oh, anyway. So I'm not sure how can I do that part. Okay. Anyway, it's like the vision is like I think the vision is for 99, but actually what we have how to achieve it. How to achieve it actually is based on a lot of challenge. We're facing. We saw from the traditional market. Number one, we all know the FTX and the 3 arrows collapse, right? So that. The fundamental reason I think why we need DeFi is number one is for the people who really want to own their assets in their own hand. So sometimes you give the assets to other people, they may not they have the fiduciary responsibilities, but actually they may screw up your assets. So this is like even just now we heard about like Coinbase, right? They launched their wallet. So typically the number one is self-custodian. You own your own key, you own your assets. That's the starting place for all the DeFi. And then, also mentioned there's no gas fee and there's no safe raise. Basically, I won't go a little deeper because that's, they use, the technology called, account abstraction, which is ERC 4337, which is what, the launch last year. So this is actually the technology we use for the Jasper Vault as well. But we go further, which means like, options trading through, you can use Coinbase wallet, actually link to our DApp and trading options. So we basically, there's no gas fee as well from our side, and this also fully self-custodian, and also the collaborator there no safe phrase. So this is pretty much one example. You can see everything just linked smoothly. People all walking to the same direction. This is number one. What I think about DeFi is make sure foundation is you have to make sure the asset is safe. The best way is keep to yourself. Number two is challenge it. If you keep to yourself, if you don't make money, That's big problems, right? So you do not want only keep safe, but you also want to make money. That's we call DeFi, finance, right? So finance basically means you want the assets to make money for you. Now, actually, if I think to the Johnson's mention, right, the institution guys do, they buy ETF, but they short, right? They short the perps and they get a funding rate. Actually, funny. This is the same thing what today's DeFi guys do as well. This year, a lot of people holding the Bitcoin in their wallet. The wallet is not generating any yield for several years. This year, one product called Isina, another Asia called Bitcoin Layer 2. What they do is very simple. They just leverage the Bitcoin in their MPC or Cepho wallet, which was idle for years. But this year, what they can do is they use the spot as one side and they open the short position in Binance or other central exchanges. So exactly the same trade as in the Wall Street. So this is more like they tried make the idle assets they keep safe. Traditionally before that actually they have to move their assets to Binance to generate the funding rate. But this year they can keep their Bitcoin in their own wallet, use the bridge or whatever, the Bitcoin Layer 2, and they keep their assets safe, but they can also generate the funding rates, funding basis from the central exchange. So it's all the same thing, but what I'm trying to say, the purpose is what? The purpose is trying to get the yield. So this is another part of DeFi, right? So people want to make sure that assets are safe and generate yield. But right now the challenge is what? The challenge is, after this kind of the business trading, the volatility is very muted, right? Volatility is very muted. So it's really hard, even you have one Bitcoin holding for one Bitcoin. It's not bring so much, the return for you this year as what you can see from last year and the year, over last 5 or 7 years. So this is another very challenge for people to say, hey, even if I spend a lot of time, to understand what the market is right, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, but how can I make more profit, right? So we just share a lot of slides, mark up and down. So that's typical. What do we know? But if you have the muted volatility, right now the muted volatility is very low. Realized volatility of Bitcoin is only 35. But options implied volatility right now is something like 50. So option premium is very high, which means like Wall Street institution guys try to use options to generate more profit. How that works, the options sometimes it is a little complicated. So usually options is very complicated for even for a lot of traders, because you have long, short, call, put. You have the risk, which called delta, gamma, vega, theta rule, right? So 5 breaks you have to manage. People, all you will say, forget about it. But actually, what we found actually sometimes the options actually is not that difficult at all. So today I want to show you, like I can jump to several slides. Okay, the logo we call it as like the keep it simple and safe. So keep simple means like you assets safe, but keep it simple, right? So let me show you one example how we can keep the assets is very simple. See, this is a screenshot. The DF. What we look at is one product called digital options. The what we do is very simple. Okay, we let people number one focus on something short-term options. So the people use options is always at the money. Is at the money. So terminology is a little difficult, but actually user maybe feel super simple. So basically, you have the option premium, right? Something like $15 or $20 or $30. That's based on Black-Scholes model. So we get is the number is also consistent with Deribit, which is the biggest centralized the options trading exchange, right? So this is basically the option pricing here. So the user is the hey, I know that Ethereum or Bitcoin will be up, and either in 8 hours or either in like 8 hours here, 8 hours or 24 hours is a short term. So now what I can do is I don't have like it's $3,000, or I don't have one Bitcoin is like $70K, but I want to get benefit of one Bitcoin move or one Ethereum move, but I do not want to pay so much money. So that's how the options play here. So basically you just pay $15, $20, or $30, and then what do you exchange for? You can get like one Ethereum or one Bitcoin price up or down. Depends on your market view, and then the leverage is that's kick rule, right? So now even the volatility is muted, but there's still volatility. Even the Bitcoin is moving 1% or 2%, maybe you still can make money. So that way is, I think, what will make the option super simple. People is not like think about like, the different maturity date or different strike price. So here is at money forever. So the strike price is every second, the strike price is same as market price. So we make options super simple for people to understand. So any retail can understand, okay, now this product is forget about options, is basically is still bet on a market view is up or down. But my downside risk is only option premium, which is it depends on the market volatilities, right? It could be $15, could be $20, could be $30, but my upside potential could be unlimited, which basically is one Bitcoin or one Ethereum can move within like certain time, which is 8 hours in this case, or 24 hours in another case, or even 3 days. We offer different time horizon. So this will be a very, very simple way we think, to make the options, for everyone, right? So people may come over to say, hey, actually, I don't understand the options, but this seems simple for me. So what I do is, number one, I only know the downside is option premium. And then I only understand, okay, market should be up or should be down. And then I pick, the direction and pay through my wallet. So this is basically one example what we redesign the options and for people can benefit. So if we back to all the DeFi mission, right? So even for regulators, they are looking for three things. Number one, the investor protection, right? So when people trading through any decentralized or centralized, you have to make sure people's money is safe with you. So what we build is the app. Again, you can link to your Coinbase Smart Wallet, your MetaMask wallet, whatever the wallet, right? So that the money always stay with the user. So this number one. Even for option seller, option buyer, the money is always stay with them. Number one, that's regulator care about investor protection. Number two is market integrity. Today we have some like we know there's some perps, right? Perpetual futures. That's a one. The options not option perpetual. People trading today try to use likely is leverage. So people like that 100 times leverage, 50 times leverage. But the challenge is what? There are two problems with that. Number one is that it's scam week, right? Sometimes the market was manipulated by the exchange. They can change the price on very volatile, and then suddenly your margin account was liquidated. So people actually have the leverage, but they have leverage on both sides. So even you will say, hey, my market view is up, I want to get upside leverage 100 times, but sometimes market moving down. If moving down, you have moving down, you have downside leverage as well. So you need a margin call. You have the margin risk management, and then if you don't do that well, your account was blew up. Even though your market view is right, the market finally is up. But if the market is down first and then up, you still cannot make money. So that make even the perps still a little challenge for a lot of retailers. They don't know why they just like market views right, but they still get their account was the blow up, right? So I think options actually will be another very easy for some people who really focus on the market view, and then they just leverage, right? Make your ideas, make your smart ideas, make your market view amplified from the right direction. But if you're wrong, your cost is very limited. You know what's the cost before you play the bet. So this is like what I feel like the next step. Maybe the option market will be not only used a lot by the institution guys, which I shared earlier. Right now, the option premium is huge. You 50% implied vol versus 35 realized vol. So it'll be like option premium is almost like 40%. Which is, I didn't see this number such high for a very long time. So which means what? Institution guys right now using a lot of options to bet for whatever ETH launch, Bitcoin launch, whatever it is. But retail cannot have this luxury to access to that, right? So Deribit and other options, only available for institution guys. The retail guys is especially DeFi guys. They want to keep their money in their own wallet. So how they can leverage like the options to help them make the trade, make the money. So that's what every single way come to here. And then another part that I really want to share actually say like we mentioned like the all the Ethereum layer 1, layer 2, right? So we see a lot of the the layer 2, especially Arbitrum. Yes, that same thing. This protocol we basically built on the Ethereum everything, but actually the first a lot of trading volume we leverage actually it is Arbitrum. A little cheaper, transaction fee is very cheap. So basically every people trading options through this protocol, we basically can subsidiate through the ERC-4337, like called paymaster. So basically, like people trading through this protocol, no gas fee actually. So this is like what I really like to share here. So if I still have a few minutes, I like to my colleagues agent to share how that easy trading through or do this trades through our protocol. It only takes like 10 or 15 seconds. It's very quick. Hello, Adrian.
Thanks, Jason. Are you going to have Adrian present?
Yes, Adrian.
Okay.
Is that possible? Can you do a demo?
I
do this very simple trade and show how that easy and quick.
Perfect. I think you'll have to stop sharing.
Yeah, I stopped. I think I stopped sharing. Okay, here, got it.
Yeah, and then you might.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So this screen actually is fitted for the cell phone, so it looks way better on the cell. It not looks very nice on the desktop because the app is a web. Yeah. You can see right now the volatility is muted. The option premium is very low. So right now it's 0.1 is $1.3. So one Ethereum right now probably is only how much? $13, $14. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's done so quick. Yeah, you can check all the trade after you're done. You can see where the trade is. Did you make money right now? So because it's as the money, if you bet this is long, which means if the market is up after you place the order, you can make money immediately. You can check what's the profit right now. So so this is the first one we built. Another one I try to mention very quickly is called swaption. So like you mentioned, we talk about Uniswap, right? The biggest problem with Uniswap actually is people call it impermanent loss, which means if you're a liquidity provider, sometimes market move big. Actually, you may lose, even you get the transaction fee. Right now, the Uniswap only pay 0.3% for the liquidity provider. 0.3% is not a lot because if the market move very big, you only have one trade, so it's only 0.3. So what we do actually is we do the swap options, which means what? Which means like you can lock the price right now, right? For example, whatever Bitcoin Ethereum price, you can lock the price today, and then over the next 8 hours, whatever up and down, you can swap anytime. It's American options, so anytime you can swap. After you swap, if for example the Bitcoin's jump suddenly goes from 71K to 75K, you swap and you get 1 Bitcoin, and you still through Uniswap, you can collect the profit immediately. So basically, this is like the give the people another chance. Because American option is not available anywhere right now. American option as right now is so who share this one? No, you do not need to share this one. This one is fine. I just talk about it. So the derivative right now is only for European options. So people have to wait into the last minute to see whether they can gain a profit. So our the swaption is American. American means after you pay the option fees, you can swap anytime, anywhere. So that will be a little feature more than I think we have the Uniswap. Uniswap great product, and then we based on that part, we just give the option buyer a little more feature from the buyers. For the sellers, they also benefit. Why? Because right now they are not charging. We are not award the liquidity LP by transaction fee. We reward the LP actually charge option premium. So right now for 8 hours, option premium is something like 0.6%. Like in 24 hours, something can go as high as 1.2%. If you see 1.2%, which actually is 4 times higher than 0.3%. So this will be basically help the offside a lot of the impermanence for the LP provider of the Coinbase for the Uniswap. So basically, if the market, the realized volatility is the same as implied volatility. So people actually will not suffer from any impermanent loss at all, because basically whatever the market move is already priced in, right? So you already charge higher premium and buy some risk, it will happen in the future. So that's the two things. What do we the already the online right now especially from the Arbitrum, we try to explain this one to all their two chains and even to Solana as well. But we want to use these two options to have the example to show that how the DeFi can come for everyone. That's back to original automation, right? So all the challenges for DeFi adoption is like you have to make sure the product is super simple, and product is super simple, safe, and make money, right? Three things, like you have to make safe, self-custodial wallet, simple, either understandable, make money. So that's the things we build here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Really appreciate that, and thanks, Adrian, as well. Victor, do you wanna kind of just host the Q&A for a few minutes? Okay, so I guess we have maybe just 5 minutes. We can do a quick, take some quick questions for Jason. We've got a few questions in the chat, so maybe we can start with the first one. Let's see. Okay. What happens when the market is very volatile? Does the position get liquidated right away? And Adrian, you've already answered that question, but maybe just if you want to just discuss it quickly out loud, just for the rest of the group.
Yes, the way for the option setter, we never use market account. So basically, if you think the same thing as you sell a house, any option setter, like for example, you sell one options to another guy, one Bitcoin, this guy have to own one Bitcoin. So if the option buyer, buy from this option setter with one Bitcoin, if the market view is right, market is up. So basically, the option setter only give up the price appreciation part. For example, today, the option seller, they buy Bitcoin at 70K, and they use this Bitcoin as collateral to sell as options. If the market is increased from 70K to 75K, so basically the option seller only to give the difference, which is 5K to the option buyer, and then they still have the 70K at their hand. So basically, the option seller is giving up any market up potential to exchange for stable income. So the option seller cannot sell something they don't have it. So that's a fundamental difference for this protocol versus other the options exchange, which basically means risk management. You don't need to do any risk management. You don't worry about delta, gamma, vega at all, because options is back to the original definition. Options is you have option buyer have the right to buy a Bitcoin at 75K. So you give 75K, other people give one Bitcoin. As long as the seller has one Bitcoin, there's no need for risk management. The traditional Wall Street don't have one Bitcoin. They have cash. They try to sell. They want leverage. That's that they have to do a lot of risk management. So this is the huge difference. And the fundamental reason also come from traditionally a lot of options. The underlying assets cannot be settled at all. You can only settle by cash. But now you have blockchain. You can settle by cash, USDT, or Bitcoin, or Ethereum. So you can settle the deliverable, which is a huge difference from the traditional option market as well.
A lot more efficiency as well, right? Because it can be settled immediately versus a T+2 or whatever the settlement time is. Okay, another question.
And I build actually, there's no segregation of liquidity. So basically, if you have one Bitcoin, you can sell one Bitcoin for options at 5 different strike price, five the 10 expiration date, even 50 scenario. Each of them is all one Bitcoin. But traditionally, you have to slice your Bitcoin to 50 pieces for each market. That's another beauty of DeFi. Thank
you. Okay, we'll take 2 more questions. I know, Nav, you had a question, you had your hand up. Why don't you go ahead and ask?
So it was the 2 questions. You kind of answered one of them, like what was the difference between perps and this? And what about the opposite? Like if you want to put up the collateral and collect the option fees yourself, is there a mechanism inside of your app to do that? Or, does your DeFi app have that?
Yes. That's actually something we will launch pro next week. That's a big effort here. You think about why we do peer-to-peer, traditional peer or do pool. So peer-to-peer basically means right now the peer is buyer, another part of the peer the seller. So anyone can just use their own wallet, just list your wallet, and you can, if you only have one Bitcoin, you can sell this one Bitcoin option to other guys. The protocol will offer option pricing model to you, and you can customize option price by yourself very easily. And then we also offer settlement. But basically means, okay, if you think option seller make a lot of money, you can be option seller. You do not need to be Wall Street. Traditional Wall Street has 3 traders, like 24 hours, like managing the option book if they want to be option seller. Just because risk management is very difficult. Right now, we make, okay, any people can be option seller. Even you don't understand option, you can still be option seller, no risk. Because you only one Bitcoin sell one Bitcoin options from your wallet directly. You can collect your option premium. Very simple. If people bet on wrong directions, even 1 day options, you can make 1.5% interest rate immediately.
Right, because that's the idea is, if you're thinking about some of the traditional ones like covered calls, that's a safer bet for a lot of people where they kind of own the underlying asset and then they can kind of like, sell the option opportunity to someone else, pass that risk on.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. It's covered call and protect pool. So that's what we really want to remove any kind of risk systematically.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Nav. We'll just do one more question because just so we're not running too behind on time. And then Jason and Adrian, if you want to continue to answer questions in the chat, feel free to do so afterwards. Okay, next question is from Tony Ballard. So not certain if this question makes any sense. I think it actually does. Is there any potential for MEV in placing these options? If so, how would that be addressed?
Could you say again? Any exotic options, right?
Any potential for MEV, like minor extractable value or maximal extractable value?
I think for the protocol we interesting. This is the second version we deliver. The first version we do the exact same thing. We just basically mimic all the derivative in the traditional the derivatives market, and we just move everything to DeFi. And we thought actually it's so complicated. So the from go-to-market strategy, we really want let the 99% benefit first. For those kind of a little complicated struggles, knock in, knock off, barrier, all those kinds of things, there's no problem. The one big story is if you think what's smart contract, why people need a contract? Contract is for any counterpart risk. Contract is designed for derivatives and options. So if you compare the DX and CEX, if the spot market definitely goes to a centralized exchange. But if you talk options and derivatives, the definitely goes to DeFi. The big use of DeFi is to try to design much better, way better options and derivatives market for the DeFi user, because the smart contract is designed for that. No counterpart risk, either settlement and a peer-to-peer. So which basically is you will say is way either to do any kind of complicated structures, in the DeFi protocol. But at this stage, we have a step by step. We really want to let the people who have no experience, have no exposure to the options, they can have this, right now they have this access right now. So I don't think anyone do similar thing as what we do today, especially for 8 hours. Like it's super simple, no confusion. It's only more like I would say it's more like a casino experience, but actually it's not a casino, it's gambling. It's options, it's derivatives. But user experience is very friendly than traditional option market. That's what we want to combine two marriage together.
Thank you so much, Jason. Really great opportunity to answer some questions there, and you helped to provide some more clarity. So thank you so much. If I could just request, if you could pass the host responsibilities to James.
Yeah.
James Morris.
How should I do that?
If you click on the participants at the bottom, you'll see 20 participants, and then I'll pop open the panel. And then in the panel, if you select James Morris, and you'll see a more button.
Sorry, let me see. What is that?
If you just hover over James, you'll see a blue more button. You can click on that and you should be able to pass host to him.
Okay, Okay, maybe I just quit login again. Sorry, it's kind of funny. I don't want to. Okay, sorry. Okay.
I saw one of our attendees, Zed from Ottawa, is asking whether you can share the slide deck or not. Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, James. And I guess for I'll just kind of kick it off with just your quick introduction and bio, and then you can kind of take it away from there. But James Morris is a New York-based senior full-stack engineer at the Across Protocol with degrees in computer science, economics, and quantitative finance. And he is currently working with Across and UMA. And feel free to take it away. Thanks so much for being here, James.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. My name is James. As Aleem said, I'm a full stack engineer at Across Protocol. I've been with the protocol for nearly 2 years, and I come from a more formal finance background, but I think like a lot of us, I found a home in Web3. I'm excited to be able to speak in front of y'all tonight, and what I want to talk about is why cross-chain intents are the ultimate interop system. So during this presentation, I want to explore with you how our approach at Across is making those changes and revolutionizing blockchain interactions. So to kick things off, let's outline a few things. First, what we really want to achieve with cross-chain interop, and maybe we can draw an analogy that illustrates our goal. So what do we want? Well, our goal is to create an interop system that is cheap, fast, and secure. Ideally, it should be so seamless that you don't even realize you're interacting with different blockchains. We want it to function almost like the TCP IP protocol, that fundamental network stack on every computer, the thing that's hosting our Zoom meeting right now. Something that works quietly in the background of all of our internet activities, ensuring that things run smoothly without the end user having to worry or think about the underlying technology. I guess to better understand this analogy I'm trying to make, let's take a closer look just for a minute at the TCP IP protocol stack and see how it simplifies complex network interactions. So what we have before us is the underpinning of the internet. You have the TCP IP protocol stack. It's an abstraction layer or a series of abstraction layers that take away the complexity of the internet. It's something that focuses from our Zoom meeting all the way down to the bits and packets that pass through network switches in our routers, in our internet service providers, and so forth. We at Across believe that blockchain interop, the interoperability between these blockchains, should pretty much work in a similar way. So let's shift our attention to a little bit outside of the scope of the TCP IP stack. Let's think bridging. So what is bridging? Like let's just get a baseline here so we can move forward with that. Is it just sending a message? Well, I guess you can say in a way, bridging currently it uses messages to send information from one chain to another. There are certain solutions like inter-blockchain communication protocols that can achieve this really well, but they're specific to IBC ecosystems, and they're not universally applicable across all blockchains. I guess in the broader reality, sending messages quickly, cheaply, and securely across chain, it's a major challenge. It's a problem. And if we had to just iterate why it's a problem, and we'll go into each one of these individual pillars in the following slides, but realistically, to do something quickly is hard when you're talking cross-chain. You have to worry about things like finality on both the destination and the origin. To do things cheaply is also hard because it's hard to do things cheaply and securely. And securely from the third pillar is also hard because when you want to do things cheaply and quickly, securely is not always the approach that you get. So where does this leave the bridging problem?
Jason, so James,
absolutely.
when you say James, when you say sending message, do you mean sending a transaction?
It's sending information. It's the communication between the blockchains. So it's, yeah, sending a transaction on A and receiving a corresponding transaction on B to fill that cross-chain interaction.
Okay. If you're sending something valuable, I presume you have to lock the one in the chain A in order to allow the representation on chain B to be usable. Where when you say sending a message, is like I send you a text, it doesn't really matter whether it's one-to-one correspondent.
No, I appreciate that question. We can think of it as information being exchanged. So not a text message, something of value being transferred between blockchains. If that value has a message, call, transaction data associated with it, then that is part of that transaction.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, absolutely, no worries. So now we talk about messages and sending these messages. We can call them information. But realistically, if we want to send it from a non-IBC perspective, if we want to generalize the idea of sending transactions across chain, we need to rethink the paradigm and we need to make a conceptual shift. So the proposal is to stop essentially sending these transactions directly between blockchains, at least as the main transfer medium. So what does that mean? And before we get to that, we can make a quick observation. If TCP is about moving bytes of data, units that pretty much make up all of our network activity, and blockchains are primarily about moving value, we can make the following statement. We can say that value is fungible. The end user doesn't care how the value is transferred. They care that the value makes it to the other chain. And that's the fundamental tenets of the intents-based model. And that's why we think it works so well. What is intents? It is the intent to have your funds and value of some form on chain A, make it to chain B, and have a underlying protocol architecture handle it for you. So if we zoom out and see how bridging with intents might change this paradigm, we can see that from the perspective of blockchain A to B, we're no longer making these direct transit. We're no longer making this direct communication. We're actually we are closing and increasing an additional actor into the system that is colloquially known as a solver. A solver is essentially an off-chain actor that data is flown through to make fast fills with their own, to fulfill these intents with their own balance. Their own balance is used to make the end user whole, to facilitate that transaction, while taking a microloan against the protocol, the across protocol, to eventually get repaid at a later date. It allows us to fulfill user requests quickly and cheaply, and it's more cost effective than traditional message passing systems of blockchain A to blockchain B direct integration. Awesome. So now let's talk about what Across's view of this cross-chain intent system might look like. So we have, and just like the TCP IP stack, that protocol stack, we have three layers of abstraction that Across feels is its view of cross-chain intents as it sees it. There's a settlement layer, there's the solver layer, that off-chain relayer network, and the intent layer, that end piece where the user actually interacts with. Now that we've sort of laid the understanding for what intents are, what the across protocol stack will look like, we can really talk about the advantages of it in the context of using across as a frame of reference for an intents-based system. So, advantage one of intents. It could be very fast. One major advantage of intents is speed. If we look at across, which is used as an intent-based architecture, we can see that across as a bridge is 1 to 2 orders of magnitude faster than traditional systems, our competitors, because it uses a series of these solvers to complete and provide the quickest service. The idea here is that these solvers are trying to get to make the fill to solve the route issue. And when they do that, they get a small reward. So as the solvers exist in the ecosystem, they're trying to compete with one another to improve the speed so that they can get their own fills and their own reward. That competition drives innovation, drives speed, drives performance, and that competition in this case is what really makes across the intents-based architecture of across stand out as a very fast bridging solution. So speed is crucial. Intents, we've talked about intents and speed, but security is equally as important. So if we take a look at intents from the security perspective, we can think that intents are actually quite secure. The reason for this is that intents allow us to separate interoperability into 2 fundamental problems. One is the urgent need for a fast fill. We talked about this with the solver layer, those solvers that are competing to fill as fast as possible. But the second part of this problem is the complexity for interchain communication. This is that messaging we were talking about. This actually getting information from chain A to chain B in a synchronized way to prevent data loss. So how does intents-based architectures, how does that improve security? Well, because we take the speed out of the verification between the interchain communication, we can actually rely on more robust verification methods that don't necessarily require speed. The one, we can use canonical bridges, which are slow, but they are the baseline risk assumption you take when using L2s. You can use ZK proofs, which the time of the proof generation itself doesn't really matter. And you can also use optimistic systems, which happen with liveness windows that exist outside of urgency. And with that system, with that breaking of the difference between the urgency and the complexity to actually validate the intents in an optimistic way, we can maximize security. So we can use these 3, we can use more, but the 3 are the primary routes that you can use to verify intents. And again, intents are information from chain A to chain B, value exchanges across chain. So we've talked about speed, we've talked about security, those 3 pillars of impossibility that across and the intents-based architecture aims to overcome. Let's now talk about cheap cost. Intents can be highly cost efficient. The architecture of intents allows for batch verification of intent fulfillment. Using that complex, slower methods, we can batch these verification requests. We could reduce the number of messages that need to actually be passed using these expensive transactions, these actual chain interactions. And we can use optimistic verification, all of which make intents both cheap and secure. So although the caveat here is that these route creators, they need to take short-term loans against the protocol, but they're made whole on fast cadence, and the trade-off of these small short-term loans leads to significant cost savings through optimization measures so that the ecosystem as a whole can benefit, including the solvers. I guess we can say here that just beyond being cheap, intents offer a competitive edge in the market. So let's explore that. I'll make the following claim. intents can be cheaper than free and faster. What do I mean by that? That's a really bold statement. Well, intents offer a competitive edge by being cheaper than some free solutions on certain routes. Let's look at Circle's CCTP bridge. Let's also acknowledge what the graphic is on the screen. We're looking at a bridge aggregator. This is something that takes multiple quotes for multiple bridges and puts it in front of the end user in that intent-based system to get the best quote. Right, so the intent of this user is to transfer 100 native USDC from Arbitrum to Optimism. And we can see that Across and CCTP were both returned as the top two results. We can also see that CCTP, the official cross-chain transfer protocol of Circle to move native USDC across chain, the free option, is slower by almost 19 minutes and the more expensive option. The reason being that the gas savings that are achieved through this notion of intents is actually proves to be cheaper. So let's talk about one more advantage: scalability. Intents are incredibly scalable. Across can handle transferring of $1 billion per day, which is an intent-based architecture, with only sending 150 of these slow messages across chains. In contrast, non-intent designs would probably need to send closer to 10 million. That would be almost 10 more million increasing of risk profiles of potential attack vectors, expenses, and timing to make it there, to make it across chain. So we've talked about advantages of intents as we see them. Let's talk about the across vision for how this protocol looks. Well, if we look back to the intent, the TCP IP structure, we can look at this similar layer. At the top, imagine the application layer, we have the intent layer. Across helps aggregators, dApps, and wallets create and route intents efficiently. What does this mean? As we saw in that bridge aggregator, the intent is to transfer value across chain. The result is using Across abstracts that away. At the solver layer, Across has played a crucial role by establishing a standard for cross-chain intents. That ensures interoperability and efficiency at these bridge aggregator layers. And finally, at the settlement layer, Across itself defines a cheap, secure, and efficient system for finalizing these intents. Now, what do I mean by this? So this is the idea of the protocol, but let's put rubber to the road. What has Across done so far to reach these goals, this vision of this interoperability stack? Well, let's start with the settlement layer. With the launch of Across v3, it brought forth an efficient settlement system for cross-chain intents. Across is the settlement layer. At the solver layer, Across worked with Uniswap to establish ERC 7683, which is a standard for cross-chain intents. And after this presentation, after this event, I do recommend checking this out. It is full of really good information about all things interoperability. It's rich in information. It's made by and worked on by Uniswap and Across protocol. And I think it will be very useful going forward as we move into a more interoperable world and climate. Let's talk about the actual chain usages. Across is continuously bringing its intent advantage to new chains. So in the last month, Linea and Mode have been integrated with this advantage, and 10 more are in the pipeline. And finally, Across is actively selling its vision for a cross-chain user experience, which we call Across Plus. It launched with v3, version 3, that settlement layer, and it's essentially a solution to allow cross-chain user experience in a simple, extremely easy to integrate way that allows DeFi protocols to quickly scale to multi-chain dApps, and it allows protocols to focus on what makes them win, while leaving the cross-chain underpinnings to Across's intent layer settlement system. we can talk about the environment of bridging as a whole. Den Kuhn recently shifted the focus on what bridges need from a purely lowest cost perspective to now needing to be fast and low cost. For 90% of transfers across all bridges in the space are usually less than 0.1 ETH. Now it's pennies to make these transactions in any case. So now to win, you need to be the fastest and the lowest, both of which across succeeds in. And also, Den Kuhn is caused transaction sizes to drop, which is actually really great for the intent model that Across proposes. Less messages via Across, plus a smaller transaction size mean more gas savings for the protocol. And I hope in these last 21 minutes, I do apologize for going a bit over, but I hope I've helped sort of shape this conclusion that in the bridging space, the best architecture wins, and intents are the best cross-chain architecture. They offer unparalleled efficiency, speed, and cost effectiveness, making that type of architecture ending cross the ideal solution for seamless blockchain interoperability. I didn't include a demo, but you can visit the protocol on Across.2. There's nearly $10 billion worth of funds transferred since the protocol's inception, 8 since I started. But otherwise, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, James. That was amazing. Very, very well presented and super clear. And I think you've very compelling, I should say. So appreciate that. Yeah, let's open it up to questions.
Yeah. James, the second last slide, you compare Crossed with CCIP from Chainlink. Is that particular screenshot come from DeFi Llama?
This was DeFi Llama at the time it was created. I'm not familiar with the current standing of the architectures, but this is what we saw when this presentation was put together.
Okay. Well, I presume all these 5 application is related to cross-chain communication?
Correct. These are all cross-chain bridges of some flavor.
Some flavor. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
James, I'm curious, just in terms of using this kind of intent-based system, are there any other bridges out there today? I mean, the ones that come to mind that I know about are like, there's Sigma from ChainSafe, you've got, Connext and several others. Are there any others that are using an intent-based system, or is Across the first one to do that?
Across was the first to do it. However, the paradigm is proving to be an extremely effective method at making bridges. So I would not be surprised if others are following in those footsteps.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, James, great presentation. Thanks so much. Couple of questions. First one is in relation to the, the solver market. What kind of yield is capital expected to return in providing the liquidity for the bridge?
Absolutely. So when Across makes a deposit, relayers, which is what we call the solvers, they're looking for these deposits to make corresponding fills. Every deposit has a fee implicitly built into the system. And that is dynamically generated based on utilization, and it's based on basically the dynamic market forces between the chains at any given moment. It's completely a transparent system, and you can even pull down the official Across relayer. It's just a piece of software that acts as that Across runs, or rather Risk Labs, the parent company of Across, runs as the protocol's backstop. But it's something that with some technical know-how and the documentation on like available, you can get started.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a particular yield that was being seen in the market. I guess it would be highly variable, kind of like an Aave rate. You know, one day it was earning you a 10% APY, and the next day it would be like 2 or something like that based on usage.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing question, Russell. I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah, fair enough.
On
Fair enough.
on my version. I'll look, but I definitely
No, but your answer was very helpful. Like there's
Perfect.
open source code and you can participate there if you like. Very interesting. Next question is more a technical one. You were talking about the ERC 7683. I think that's the cross-chain intent standard. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It is 7683, correct.
7683. Okay. I was just wondering because I've heard a lot about intents. I don't know too much about it. And you have this cross-chain intent standard. And I was wondering if there is a basic intent, a more basic, more generalized intent standard that you elaborated for the cross-chain context. Is there a lower level standard that defines what an intent is in the Web3 context or more generally?
Absolutely. I think we would define intent as the intent for a user to perform an action on chain and to have that action and all the fundamental steps underneath that action be abstracted away from the user. ERC 7683 is a standard meant for the intent layer. It's something that bridges can, or aggregators and dApps can use to plug into this system so that they can have more interoperability. At a lower level, Across considers the intent system as part of its entire stack. So from the intent to the solver to the settlement layer. And all of that is, the word intent really is to take away and abstract the complexities of making the cross-chain interchain message transfer.
Okay, yeah. So the
answers your question.
Yes, I was trying to. I'll take a look at the standard and go from there. It's probably a good place to start. Last question on bridging in general.
Sure.
When we talk about non-fungible tokens, is there any way to leverage this intent system, or is the non-fungibility kind of require a different architecture, maybe one of the slower ones to move the actual asset over?
That's an amazing question. I like that. That hasn't been something that I've personally reasoned about. That would be probably that's actually a really good question that that might take some more time outside. I can give you, I think a good spot to ask that particular question would be, the Discord of Across. It's something that's alive and well with plenty of developer resources of people that reason about those types of things. I think that would be a really good spot for that.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, James. Again, great, amazing
Absolutely.
presentation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I appreciate the question, Russell.
And
Is there
Russell,
anything else?
sorry, I just wanted to comment on that for Russell. There's a protocol called Asteria. It's ASTARIA. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. The loan-based intents, right?
Exactly. It's loan-based intents for NFTs. So check that out if you like.
Oh, they're doing NFTs. I thought they were doing more like Aave style ERC loans, ERC 20 loans.
I believe it's for NFTs, but I'll double check.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And
James,
I
James, I have a question. I wonder whether your this cross-chain intents architecture work for cross-chain operability for a tokenization of real-world assets. So my understanding is that the traditional finance company like BlackRock, when they tokenize real-world asset, they want to deploy that asset available across different blockchain, Ether and others. And the Chainlink is working on this CCIP protocol to facilitate the cross-chain transfer. Does your protocol can also help tokenization across different chain, or it's different for different purpose?
No, totally. I like that. So if I'm understanding correctly, it's more or less, does this architecture support cross-chain transfers of tokens at a fundamental level? Yeah, absolutely. That was essentially the prime directive of V1 and V2 of Across. Across is a bridge in its original form that allows transferring of traditionally canonical assets, or assets that have enough volume to support this level of support on the solver level. So Across would, if the token, the firm or the project reach out to Across, there might be a way to get that token actually involved in the bridge itself.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. And just to touch on that, the way Across works, just based on this intent-based architecture, is these are all canonical assets that exist on both chain A and B. And by that, I mean the filler, that solver, needs to have a balance sheet of the token that's being transferred onto chain B. So there's no like canonical bridging that's happening. It's all just balance sheets being extended, which makes Across part of that settlement system or the solver system so quick.
Okay. Do you familiar with CCIP or not? The Chainlink CCIP, how it work or something? Because you talk about you can do something like TCP/IP, and in CCIP you can the sender message who want to send the message pay for gas in the destination chain, and we can send the message. But in your protocol, I don't get who pay for the message sending on the destination chain, because in bridge that you show us, it's some kind of transferring token, and they can get the fee from the destination token. Okay, but I want to know what architect do you for paying the fee on the destination chain?
It's a good question. So I guess in a nutshell, the life cycle of one of these intent deposits begins with a deposit on chain A in a contract secured with Across. That fee is that fee to call that smart contract function is paid by the user. And the fee of that suggested fee that Across estimates will be required to submit the transaction from the relayer, that solver on the destination chain, is also included in the price of the deposit. So both the depositor pays both the gas fees on both sides. And part of the fee that the relayer, that solver, receives includes fees to make whole on the gas transaction.
So in this case, it's not possible that each user each user pay for the gas, because the fee calculate off chain, yeah?
Well, correct. I mean, there's an asynchronous mechanism here. The depositor submits funds to contract or chain A at time T, and then at some other point, the relayer, the solver, has to make that transaction asynchronously to the deposit. So the estimated fee is included, and should, I guess, the solvers reason about that fee, whether or not the fee received by the deposit is worth and is profitable. So that's something that the profitability logic of the solver has to reason about. But the fee in both cases is paid by the depositor via A, the actual gas cost of making the smart contract function call for a deposit, and B, the actual amount of funds that get taken, or the amount of funds that have to get included in the fee for the bridge request.
Thanks.
Does that help clarify?
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. No, absolutely. That was an amazing, I love that question. You got me thinking. Thank you.
James, I have a question regarding cross-chain DeFi. So with these intents, would it be possible to say sometime in the future, like if I want to hold all my ETH on, like, let's say the Ethereum chain, and then I can keep that as collateral on Ethereum, and instead of transferring, I can like borrow against that collateral on like some other chains, let's say some other layer 2 like Arbitrum, and then like do some activities there or move it around later if I want. I can borrow from maybe multiple chains and then use activities instead of transfer.
That's an interesting question. I think that's sort of, in a way, that is the premise of a cross plus, which bundles a value transfer plus an action that gets sent as a message field in our deposits. So a third-party integrator, a firm, a company, a project could create very reasonably a protocol that uses the across function, that across plus, to facilitate that type of logic. But across itself is really a settlement system that allows, I guess we want to allow projects to focus on what makes them win, and what makes across win is being an interoperable, intent-driven bridge, like value transfer protocol. So that would be something that a third-party project could build off of across, which is the premise of across plus.
Got it. And this is like in the roadmap, or is that like currently?
Yeah, no, across plus is live and well, and there's 8 integrations, more to come. It was released several months ago, so it's a very a very popular product right now within this space.
Got it. Thank you, James.
Of course. Thank you, Johnson. Is there any other questions? I don't want to take up too much more of anyone's time.
Yeah, James, maybe one last question.
Absolutely.
People tend to, at least used to be, that criticize bridge as a weakest link between two chains because it does require some form of centralization. How would you say your protocol doing differently?
Right. So across in its core is permissionless. So the settlement system, the contracts that ferry or like that facilitate funds and settle these cross-chain transactions, the contract calls that needed to be made are mostly by and large permissionless outside of bundle proposals. But that's a whitelisted event that is secured by the DAO governance. Any individual can file a dispute against across, given that it's backed and powered under the optimistic oracle. So the verifications of the protocol are handled optimistically, and they can be disputed. And any like to be a solver is also permissionless. So anyone can purchase or not purchase, or I guess, yeah, rent some server space, download the free open source software that's documented and with Docker files and everything. They can bring that onto their own machine or their rented machine, and they can run it. And all they need is just funds on the destination chain that they want to support and RPC URLs, and they can get started. So from the perspective of decentralization, I think across is quite decentralized.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, amazing questions. I love it.
Can I have some simple sample for sending message between the chain? Do you have some GitHub or a simple message that I can send between two chain?
Right. Okay. Sounds like, do you mean just to create almost just to send some money, or are you interested on learning
No.
about how to integrate across Plus?
No, I want to know how can I send a message, not token or something. I want to just a text between some contract in chain A and a contract in chain B.
Absolutely. I think an amazing place to start would be the official documentation of Across. I'll post it in the chat. It's just docs.across.to. It has information on how to do that. So basically what you would do is you'd call the Across multi-call handler with your message, and it would send it off to a contract address of wherever that destination chain that you're looking to handle, and a README and a example. Basically, the whole understanding of how to do that is very well documented on that website that I just attached to this call. That should be pretty much everything you need to get running on how to do that, like hello world transfer to send a message across chain.
Hey, James, I got one more question for you. Aleem here. Thanks so much again for the presentation.
Yeah.
I know a lot of folks in DeFi today. I mean, as L2s become more prevalent, and we start to see more user activity on L2s like Arbitrum, Optimism, Base as part of the superchain ecosystem, and Polygon. We start to see like more fragmented liquidity. So I'm just curious, like, are there any plans on the roadmap for like a smart order router or smart order liquidity grabber, where let's say if I have liquidity on like 4 different chains and I need that on mainnet right now to execute a transaction in a DeFi protocol, can Across facilitate the kind of gathering of some of that liquidity in the most cost efficient way to allow me to use it at the time that I need it in a DeFi protocol? Like, is that something that's possible, or are there plans for the roadmap, or is Across only meant to be like a one-way kind of bridge right now?
Aleem, I think James dropped off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was waiting for that question because like it's actually.
James back. Okay,
he's back.
Yeah, back.
Okay.
Hey, James, sorry, you drop off for some reason. James,
Sorry about that, everyone. I guess my monitor shut off, and I guess it put my computer in hibernate. Aleem, you were asking, I'm sure, an amazing question that that's the end of.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for joining back. My question was, a lot of DeFi users tend to have fragmented liquidity now that we have, way cheaper transactions after the Denkin upgrade, right, across L2s. And you might have a bunch of your assets on Arbitrum, maybe on Optimism, maybe on ZK Sync, etc. What if I require some of that liquidity to execute a transaction, let's say on Ethereum mainnet, right? Hyperdrive is the protocol that we're currently working on. And let's say I want to execute a transaction on Hyperdrive on Ethereum mainnet. Is there like a smart order liquidity grabber functionality that either you have plans for or that Across can do right now, where I could, in a very cost efficient way, grab liquidity from multiple chains all at the same time and then have it available to me on mainnet, like have that routed to me on mainnet at the point where I need it, to be able to use that. So if I have ETH on multiple chains, grab it right in the transaction modal, let's say where I need it. And it's just one step, it's one transaction versus many. It's almost like a smart order router, but like a smart order liquidity grabber of sorts.
Right. No, that's, I would say, I think that again, in a, not to, I guess it's general enough where I could say it again. I could sort of sound like that broken record. I do think that is actually a pretty good use case for Across Plus. The idea here is that you have one smart contract handler on Ethereum. So you cry a little bit, you deploy your contract on Ethereum, and then you integrate across within your dApp to allow you to send your funds, any of the across in like integrated chains. You can then send funds back to mainnet with a message. And that message could be something as simple as partial fill, partial fill, partial fill into one spot, at which point, once everything has landed, it would make that final message to actually, that message would include in your custom smart contract a way to then delegate those funds to Hyperdrive.
Got you. Okay.
Oh,
So is
oh,
oh, maybe
oh.
someone's probably yelling at their dog.
Maybe
I think you might
confused there.
you might be able to mute, or if you want to pass host. Oh no, I think Victor.
I think you're the host.
Yeah, Victor. Maybe if you want to mute.
Yeah.
Or
My
otherwise.
graceful exit for 30 seconds took care of it all.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think
Thank
we're pretty much at time. I don't think we probably have time for maybe a discussion. But yeah, Victor, if you'd like to take it away from here. But James, yeah, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Really
From the
awesome.
protocol, myself, the team, I really appreciate allowing us to be here, and thanks for hearing me. So, cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
James.
so much. Thank you, James. Thank you for our other speaker, Jason, as well. And originally we planned to have a roundtable, but given the time we're almost 9 o'clock, so we had a great discussion with our two speakers, and it seems that there's a lot of questions, particularly related to the cross protocol. So we're going to stop here rather than continue our roundtable. We'll save the topic for next time, and please join us next month for another online meetup. And then in August, we have an in-person meetup as well. And we're looking forward to see you all again. And so thank you for our speakers. Thank you for all the attendees. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.